Well, if you think you are already paying too much to Uncle Sam, just wait. The Treasury expects to collect a record $2.7 trillion in taxes from Americans just this year. Illinois Congressman Aaron Schock serves on the tax-writing House Ways and Means Committee. He's on the front lines of the battle for comprehensive tax reform. Representative Schock joins me now. Congressman, great to have you here. I want to start.
Hey, Governor, good to be with you.
Well, you know, it is tax day tomorrow, and all of Americans are scrambling around tonight trying to figure out, how to get it all done. The president's got his taxes done. He's released them publicly over the weekend, and he's paying an effective tax rate of just about 18%. Is that a fair share?
Well, look, I think you and I agree that it would be a lot easier if we just had a flat tax, if everybody just paid the same percent on all their earnings. And we didn't need to hire a bunch of high-priced accountants and tax attorneys to comb through what is now 70,000 pages of tax code to try and take advantage of all kinds of loophole deductions and credits, which allow people like President Obama to pay a lot lower than the top rate of what is now 43%. You know, the president's in the top tax bracket in our country, thanks to Obamacare and the tax increases on January 1. That top rate for all households over $450,000 is 43%. And so I think most Americans at home tonight are looking at the president's income of $650,000 between his book sales and some of the other royalties and investment income, $650,000 in income, and he only paid a net effective 18%. And the president talks a lot about fairness, talks a lot about everybody paying their fair share. And so what the Ways and Means Committee would like to do, in cooperation with the Senate Finance Committee, is make it fair. Get rid of all the loopholes, get rid of all the fancy code, simplify the tax code, and create two rates, a top rate of 25% and a bottom rate of 10%. And that way, people can fill out their taxes on a postcard, mail it in, and like you said, April 15th can be a much more relaxing day. You know, we spend 6 billion hours as Americans to comply with our tax code, $160 billion on accountants and tax attorneys. That money could be better used in our economy. That time could be better spent either with your family or in your business. It shouldn't be to comply with Uncle Sam's tax code.
Well, we hadn't had real tax reform since 1986. I'm just curious, how likely are we to see something of significance in reforming the tax code? Great
question. I think it's likely in spite of the president. In other words, Governor Huckabee, if you look at the president's budget, he proposes $1 trillion in new taxes that even his own party is not willing to embrace. In fact, as you know, the last 4 years, not a single one of his budgets has passed. It hasn't even gotten a single vote. And so he's completely off the reservation, not just with Republicans, but with Democrats in his own party. They're not willing to go along with his huge increases on business tax, his huge increases on individual tax. But there does seem to be agreement, I will tell you, between Republicans and Democrats in the House. And there seems to be promising signs with Max Baucus, the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. He's been working with Dave Camp, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee on the House side. We've been having a bipartisan and bicameral between the House and the Senate hearings on tax reform for the last 2 years. And our working groups now are putting together the framework for tax reform. We're putting out different rough drafts, if you will. So I think there's a real chance that we could do tax reform because it doesn't cost money. We can do it revenue neutral. In other words, we don't have to, basically, according to the Congressional Budget Office, we can make it revenue neutral just by getting rid of the loopholes and deductions and still getting the top rates down to 25%. And Republicans and Democrats seem to agree on that. Unfortunately, the president, unlike 1986, to your point, with Ronald Reagan as the president, he really was the one that championed tax reform. And we don't have a Ronald Reagan in the White House, as you know. We don't have a guy in the White House who understands what this will mean for job creation, even though the Congressional Budget Office says if we do tax reform, if we get down to 25% and 10% rates, we'll create 1 million new jobs in the first year. Talk about a no-cost stimulus bill.
Yeah. Congressman, if you get that done, you will be America's hero without question. Thanks for joining us tonight. Delighted to have you here. Hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Governor. Good to be
Still
with you.
ahead.